Hi everybody, Dan Illman and Matt Bernier, the DRF Bets Race of the Day for Friday, February the 15th. We're going to take another crack at the John Battaglia Memorial Stakes. It was carded last Friday originally, if you recall. Weather canceled and scrapped those plans. We're here with this Friday's race of the day. It's scheduled as race number 5. Let's take a look at this field. You can access free formulator past performances on the race of the day event page at DRF.com. Download them, handicap along with us. We'll take the field in post position order. They've redrawn the race. There have been a couple of defections, but other than that, not much has changed, Matt. Let's start with the number 1, Echo Alpha 6, who is stretching out for the first time in his career. I like this inside post position for this horse. I think he can get a nice forward position. And the one and only time he raced at Turfway, he finished second behind an odds-on winner, finishing ahead of 2 next out winners. I thought it was a solid performance, especially considering he was 5 wide on the backstretch.
Yeah, and you have to look at him and say there's plenty of upside here. He's not that far off from a speed figure standpoint already. I don't think the additional ground should be any real issue for him at 1 mile and a 16th. And you brought it up. A couple of these horses, sure, there have been some defections from the race, but more importantly, some of the horses, based on their running style, they're drawn a little bit differently here this time around. Echo Alpha 6 down on the inside, I think you end up taking a forward position, but you're not out there dueling on the lead. I think you kind of take that pocket and you try to work out a trip.
10-1 on the morning line. Ty Kennedy takes the mount. And again, the distance is a big question mark for this horse. He's stepping up 3 furlongs off his most recent race, a decent effort on turf at the fairgrounds. But as you mentioned, I think the horse has enough pedigree to handle this trip. He'll be a price. The 2 is Dabo, and this horse won his career debut in his one and only start on a synthetic surface. It was a very impressive rally visually. This horse came from about 20 lengths out of it to win a 6 furlong race as a first-time starter at 2. Shamey went to the sidelines for a few months after that race, but he was compromised by a slow pace in a slow key race last time out on turf at Gulfstream. I think this is an interesting long shot if he gets some pace this time around.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Like you say, he ran into some good horses in that most recent run. We know what a Thread of Blue is capable of. Won a stakes race a few weekends back. The concern I have is the pace going to really materialize the way that he'll need it to? And also, at the end of the day, I do think there's a part of me that looks at it and says, is he really ready for this level of company? This may not be a field littered with superstars, but there is still some talent in here, and I do wonder if this is a little bit too much too soon.
You mentioned a next out winner, a Thread of Blue. We took the Dania Beach at Gulfstream with an 88 buyer. The runner-up came back to win a 1X with an 81 buyer. So a live race to be sure, and he was stuck in behind slow fractions. The number 3, the Mackham Bullet, is already Group 1 placed in her career. That was as a 2-year-old overseas in England. She ran an okay 6th behind the very talented newspaper of record in her one and only turf try in North America, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. And last time out, Wesley Ward shipped her to Turfway Park, and she destroyed a field. She was very, very, very late to change leads that day. It wouldn't have mattered if she never changed leads. She could have run around again and beat those horses. This is a big step up in class.
Yeah, it certainly is. I thought she was real sharp that day, though, and you brought it up really late with the lead change. The only reason I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt is because, really, at the end of the day, she's a European. She'd only started one other time here in the States, and usually that's just not something that's really taught over there or really emphasized, because whether it's a straight, whether it's a right-hand turn, whatever the case may be, I'm not going to hold it against her just yet. I do think she'll need to improve slightly, but you look at it from a speed figure standpoint, she is right there, if not arguably the horse to beat. The other thing that I think goes a long way with her that I didn't love about the race last week, she is drawn much more advantageously this time around. She's not going to be hung out wide like she was probably going to be last time. I think there's a real chance that she is the speed nearest the rail. I think she goes right to the front.
She's already beaten males overseas. Wesley Ward, a master at placing these fillies against the boys. She is a strong contender, second choice on the morning line. The 4 Dynamic Racer is 20-1 on the morning line, but I liked his most recent prep run at Turfway. It was his first ever start on a synthetic surface, his first start with Lasix, and it was a good hard race that should have him primed and ready to go in his second start of the form cycle. The one problem is the race was a little bit slow.
I was going to say, really, when you just look at it and you look at some of the other figures that the horses are bringing into this race, just a little bit on the slow side, second off the bench. Perhaps you get a forward move here. You deserve to get a big price on him, though, if he does score.
Wallace, the number 5, you could argue is a little bit dirtied up at a nice price. They tried dirt last time out in an off-the-turf race in New York. He ran 3rd that day, really didn't do much running. It's probably not going to be his surface. 2 starts back, he was in the Grade 1 Summer Stakes and was probably overmatched in that race. 3 starts back, he earned a stakes win in gate-to-wire fashion sprinting at Woodbine. My issue here is distance. I think this horse is going to handle the surface no issue. I think the speed is going to have him up close to the pace, but I'm not sure if Wallace really wants to go 1 mile and a 16th right now.
And if you have any kind of questions about the distance with his running style, given the other company he'll have on the front end, both of his wins in gate-to-wire fashion, it just makes me think there are a lot of things going against him. The other problem I have with him, you're right, he's probably a little bit dirtied up with each of those last two runs. Outside of that stakes win over Yielding Ground where he earned an 80 buyer, where's his fast race? He's just not fast enough right now for me to trust him.
He's got speed, but Timeform US believes the speed of the speed is right next door. The number 6, Maya Solamea, a horse that will be making his synthetic debut on Friday. This horse defeated 3 minor next out winners when graduating at Mahoning Valley going 2 turns, and the horse has really improved since being stretched out around 2 turns. That being said, first time against winners, has to deal with other pace pressure, first time on a synthetic surface, 30-1 for a horse who's sharp, but is facing a real tough challenge.
Jumping up in a big way, needs to prove that you can handle the synthetic surface, needs to prove that he can handle winners coming out for the first time against them, needs to prove that he can win from anywhere other than on the lead. I know the pace projector suggests he's out there winging it. Perhaps he is. I disagree with the pace projector a little bit. I think the 3 is going to be much closer than they have her listed. But at the end of the day, Maya Solamea, that'd be a horse that if he wins, I lose.
Our next 2 entrants are trained by the great Michael Maker. We'll begin with the 7 Kentucky All-Star, who is a half-brother to one of your favorites, the stakes-winning turf horse Ritzy AP. And while Dynamic Racer had a good hard race to get him ready for this, Kentucky All-Star found a really great spot for his synthetic debut. It was only a field of 4. It was a rather easy win for him at 9-10 that day. He has good tactical speed, although I'm a little bit surprised to see he is so far back on the pace projector. I think he can be a little bit closer to the pace, but like some of the others, he's got to run faster.
And the other thing, too, to throw in there about the pace projector, there's a part of me that thinks that so many of these horses trying synth for the first time, it doesn't always translate. I know you got stretch outs on dirt going to the synth or vice versa, whatever it may be. There's just a part of me that says take the pace projector with a little bit of a grain of salt. I expect Kentucky All-Star to be a little bit more forward, but the problem is I don't know how good he actually is. That last race, you're right, easy enough for him to get through, 4-horse field. He just didn't run all that fast.
Morning line favorite, the number 8, Some Like It Hot Brown. I think anyone that backs Some Like It Hot Brown would like where he is on the pace projector, chasing 30-1 recent maiden winner Maya Solamea. The major question for Some Like It Hot Brown, recently 3rd in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, and he ran very well that day, taking the field inside the 16th pole, finishing ahead of a couple of next out winners. One of them, War of Will, is going to be the favorite in Saturday's Risen Star Stakes and is right now considered a strong Kentucky Derby prospect. The question with this horse is surface. He's done most of his best running on the turf. His sire does well with synthetic runners. Big Brown's acceptable, 15% winners on the synth. This is the family of Stevie Wonderboy, who won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I have a feeling Some Like It Hot Brown will handle the surface, and based on class lines and speed figs, isn't he just the horse to beat?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't think there's really any other way to put it. I thought that Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf effort was even better than it looks. He ended up down on the inside. The inside was an absolute bog on the turf on Friday and Saturday at Churchill. And I have to be honest, I think you're going to be looking at a running style. I know they have him parked just off the 6 here. Last week I kind of agreed with that. Now there is some other speed to the inside, and it does make me wonder if you're going to get a running style more similar to the one we saw in the With Anticipation 3 starts back, where he's early on maybe 3 or 4 lengths off of it before he moves up into the far turn and really just kind of goes into stalk mode. However you chop it up, he's the horse to beat.
And Maker has mentioned to our Kentucky analyst Byron King that he would like to get this horse covered up and make a little bit of a run from in behind horses. He thinks maybe this horse waits on others when they turn into the stretch, and perhaps he'd like to attack instead of being the one attacked by others. Zulu Legend is the 9. This is a sharp horse on dirt, stretching out in distance, stepping up in class. He has gotten good recently using a variety of running styles. I could perhaps see this horse cracking the exotics at a giant price if he handles the surface. His broodmare sire Dynaformer, known for turf, sometimes the turf and synth merge nicely.
Paired up by her tops of 66 in each of the past 2, needs to stretch out in distance, needs to transfer over to a different surface. But again, if you're looking for a bigger price, why not take a shot with this horse?
The 10 Overprotective has found himself on a synthetic surface in his last 2 races. He won very, very easily last time out. Take a look at that race when you get a chance. Very visually impressive the way he just drew away and hid from that field. He does have a very tough outside post position here. He might have to weave his way through or go around multiple horses from the back of the pack. I think this horse has a little bit of ability. I wonder if this is a little too much too soon right now.
Yeah, another one that needs to prove that not only can they handle winners, they can handle going up against just better horses in general. There's one thing to break your maiden, it's another thing to do it against better horses, whether it is Some Like It Hot Brown, whether it is the filly, whether it is any of these other horses in here. Outside Post, I think you take him back and try to make one run.
Top pick time for the John Battaglia Memorial Stakes. You're going with Some Like It Hot Brown. Listen, he seems like he holds all the aces on paper. You can put him wherever you want within the context of a race. He can stalk, he can lead, he can come from mid-pack. It's just all about whether he handles this synth.
I got to be honest with you. I talked about it last week. I really considered the filly, the Mackham Bullet in here. I considered her even more this time around just because I think she's drawn much, much better. At the same time, I do wonder if Some Like a Hot Brown's just a better horse at this point. If he takes any sort of forward step here, his first start as a 3-year-old, I think he's going to be a handful.
I'm using a lot of Some Like It Hot Brown in any multiple race wager, but I want to give Echo Alpha 6 a little bit of a price chance. Again, 10-1 on the morning line. Like this inside post, think the distance is okay. And the one and only time on the synth. He wasn't against an odds-on winner. He was 5 wide early. He finished ahead of 2 next out winners. His subsequent turf race was okay. I think this horse is consistent. He's going to have to step it up if he's going to beat a horse like Some Like It Hot Brown. I'm going 1-8-3-9. Give me numbers.
8-3-2-4.
Fun race, the John Battaglia Memorial. We hope it goes off this Friday. $75,000 is the purse. It's race number 5 and has an approximate post of 8-12 Eastern. Good luck.